Hi guys, as you can see we're still enjoying Toronto Maple Leafs week here, and today it's classic rock. And today we're going to look at one of the great guitar heroes, Jimi Hendrix. Now, I first became aware of Hendrix. I mean, I'd heard of his music. Some of my friends had some of his earlier albums, but my first exposure to him was the Woodstock film and the subsequent soundtrack album, where he closed out the festival. And this was my first chance to really hear what he was doing. And certainly his guitar playing was very different from what anybody else had been doing at this point. It was not those short, 30-second, 2-minute, whatever, solos. He was really delving into it and expanded the guitar's, function during these songs and becoming a lead voice and creating some very memorable solos. So two of the albums I just wanted to feature, and actually I found these on cassette, so this is another flashback to the old days. One called Jimi Hendrix Blues, and the other one called The Ultimate Experience. And as you'd expect, Ultimate Experience is going to be more like a greatest hits album, so I'll save it for a few minutes, where it covers a lot of the hits. The Blues one, yes, we've got some regular Jimi Hendrix tunes in there that people might recognize. I'll just give you an idea what some of the songs are. Hear My Train Comin', Born Under a Bad Sign, Red House, Voodoo Child Blues, Manish Boy, Once I Had a Woman, Electric Church, Red House. There's a number of them here. A lot of these, yeah, I'm not that familiar with them. This was my first exposure to them, but they've been culled from different performances, but certainly something worth checking out. Now, when I mentioned Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix was on the original Woodstock album, but there was also an album that just featured his set. So if you wanted to check out what he was doing back then, we're talking, late 60s, it's a chance to get a live performance and that festival feel in a very iconic festival. Okay, let's take a look at the other one, the Jimi Hendrix Ultimate Experience. And this really is a greatest hits album. Now, when you look at the tunes, even for people like myself that hadn't listened to a lot of Hendrix, a lot of these are familiar. So obviously somewhere I've heard them. Things like All Along the Watchtower. I mean, this is a classic Bob Dylan tune from John Wesley Harding. And we may have mentioned it during the Bob Dylan section, but it's one song that Hendrix took over and made his own. And there's a quote in here saying Bob Dylan said, "I wonder why it took him so long, because that song, he has written it. When he was writing it, he had Hendrix in mind. And, it was one that became one of his most commercial success and got a lot of radio airplay. Now we got Purple Haze, Hey Joe. Hey Joe was one of his early hits. And back in the 60s, you may remember we talked about Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, the original Mothers of Invention. They did a takeoff on this called Flower Punk, which was kind of done to the same music about this guy going to San Francisco, but it was kind of a poke at Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe. The Wind Cries Mary, Angel, Voodoo Child, Foxy Lady, Crosstown Traffic, Castles Made of Sand, Red House showing up again there, Gypsy Eyes, Little Wing, Fire, Wait Until Tomorrow, The Star Spangled Banner, again from Woodstock, and one that was really, I found fun, a live version of Wild Thing by the Troggs, only Hendrix style of it. Now, a lot of these songs, very familiar, very melodic, and you may recognize some of them if you checked out the album we looked at when we talked about Gil Evans, the Gil Evans big band playing Jimi Hendrix. And a lot of them were so melodic and so accessible, he turned them into tunes for his big band. So it wasn't just Hendrix guitar. There was a lot of great music that he was writing and that he was playing. And this album, or any of the greatest hits albums that touch on this, is certainly a good place to start if you haven't a lot of experience, or don't use experience, sounds like I'm kind of making a pun or making a joke there or something, but if you haven't had a lot of exposure to Jimi Hendrix, these greatest hits albums, really a good place to start. And nowadays the streaming networks have so much of this music available, and again the actual Woodstock set is on there, plus Blues is on there. I don't know if this one was, but there are certainly others that would fill that void. but worth taking a look at. And this is music from back, you know, we're talking almost over 50 years ago, and it's still as vibrant and as vital and as fresh as it was back then. It's a different style. He was breaking ground, playing guitar in a way that people hadn't really done before. Now, you may listen to this and it's more commonplace because over those 50 years, yeah, a lot of people have copied that style. A lot of people have expanded on it. But Jimi Hendrix was a pioneer. So if you get a chance, check him out on the streaming networks, maybe buy some hard copies, and find out what the Jimi Hendrix experience was all about. Anyways, everybody stay safe, stay home, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on Friday. Thanks for stopping by.